My mother-in-law sabotaged my restaurant's opening night and paid people to make me fail, but her plan backfired when a famous food critic exposed her evil plot, and now she's facing criminal charges. My mother-in-law Diana, 58F, tried to destroy everything I, 32F, worked for during the opening night of my restaurant. I've been a chef for over a decade, working my way up from washing dishes to running kitchens at some of the best restaurants in our city. 3 years ago, I met my husband Mark, 34M, when he came in as a regular customer at the fine dining restaurant where I was head chef. He'd stop by twice a week, always requesting to be seated where he could see into the kitchen. We gradually started talking about food and cooking techniques. He grew up in an Italian family where cooking was everything, and he'd learned all his grandmother's recipes. After a month of him trying every new dish I created, he finally asked me out. His mother Diana never approved of me. She's one of those traditional women who believes a wife should give up her career to take care of her husband and home. The fact that I worked late nights and weekends as a chef was a constant source of criticism. She'd make snide comments about how Mark was wasting away because he had to cook for himself sometimes, completely ignoring that he actually enjoys cooking and we take turns making meals. Last year, I finally achieved my dream of opening my own restaurant. I'd saved every penny for years, even lived in a tiny studio apartment to cut costs. When an old Italian restaurant in a prime location went up for sale, I knew it was my chance. The building needed work, but the bones were good and the location was perfect. Mark was incredibly supportive, even offering to help with the renovation costs. But I wanted to do this on my own. I took out loans, used my savings, and even sold my car to make it happen. Diana was horrified when she found out. She told Mark he was foolish to let me risk our financial security on such a risky venture. She kept sending him listings for reasonable jobs I could take instead, like school cafeteria cook or catering assistant. The renovation took 6 months. I was at the restaurant every day, overseeing everything while still working my regular chef job. Mark would come by after his work to help paint or clean. Diana showed up unannounced several times, always finding something to criticize. The color scheme was too modern, the tables were too small, the menu was too fancy for the neighborhood. 2 weeks before opening night, Diana invited us to Sunday dinner. She spent the entire meal telling stories about failed restaurants and bankruptcy statistics. Then she made her move. She offered to help by buying into the restaurant as a partner. She said she talked to her friend who owned a small chain of family restaurants, and he agreed to mentor me if I'd change my contemporary Italian fusion concept to a traditional red sauce Italian menu. I politely declined, explaining that I had a clear vision for my restaurant. She got upset, saying I was too proud to accept help from family. The real kicker came when she told Mark she was just trying to protect the family's reputation since I'd be using his last name for the restaurant. I had to point out that I'd kept my maiden name and the restaurant was called Verona, not exactly a family name. Opening night was set for a Friday. We'd done a small friends and family service the night before, which went perfectly. The local food blog had done a write-up about the opening, and we were fully booked, 85 reservations for our 45-seat restaurant, split across 2 seatings. I'd hired an amazing team, including some former colleagues who believed in my vision. Our menu was a perfect blend of traditional Italian techniques with modern twists, and every dish had been tested and perfected over months of preparation. Everything was ready. I arrived at 10 a.m. to start prep, my stomach fluttering with excited nerves. The morning started smoothly, bread dough rising perfectly, sauces simmering, fresh pasta being rolled. The kitchen had that perfect energy of focused anticipation. Around noon, my sous chef Marco came running into my office, his face pale. There was a problem with the produce delivery. Our regular supplier claimed they never received our order for the week. I had the confirmation email on my phone showing the $1,200 order of specialty ingredients, but they insisted they had no record of it. This was devastating. We needed specific ingredients for our signature dishes, including hard-to-find items like fresh porcini mushrooms and specialty Italian greens. Mark dropped everything at his office to help me. We spent 3 frantic hours racing between local markets and restaurant supply stores, trying to cobble together substitutions. The cost was nearly double what we'd planned, and the quality wasn't what I wanted for opening night, but we had no choice. It set us back precious hours in prep time. My kitchen team was amazing though, everyone worked double speed to catch up, no complaints, just determined focus. Then at 3 p.m., disaster struck again. 3 of our most experienced servers called out sick within minutes of each other. They all had the same symptoms, severe stomach issues that started shortly after eating at the friends and family event the night before. Anthony, my head server, said they'd all eaten the staff meal together at a separate table. It seemed like too much of a coincidence, but I couldn't focus on that mystery. I had to find replacement servers immediately. I called in every favor I could, reaching out to former colleagues and friends in the industry. 2 servers from my old restaurant agreed to come help after their shifts ended, but that still left us short-staffed for the first seating. We had to reorganize the entire service plan, redrawing station maps, and adjusting responsibilities. Anthony stepped up amazingly, volunteering to handle a double section despite having to also manage the host stand. An hour before opening, while we were still training our replacement servers on the menu, our reservation manager discovered something terrifying. All the reservation confirmations had been marked as cancelled in our system. Someone had logged in and systematically cancelled every single booking. Part 2. My mother-in-law sabotaged By-Restaurant's opening night and paid people to make me fail, but her plan backfired when a famous food critic exposed her evil plot, and now she's facing criminal charges. Thankfully, I'm obsessively organized and had the original reservation list printed out, including contact details. But this meant chaos was inevitable. We'd have 85 people showing up to find their reservations cancelled in the system. The next blow came at the worst possible moment. Just as we were about to open the doors, a health department inspector walked in. He said they'd received multiple anonymous complaints about food safety violations, including reports of rodents and unsafe food storage. We had nothing to hide. I run an impeccably clean kitchen, but the timing couldn't have been worse. The inspector needed to do a full inspection, including temperature checks on all our prep items and storage areas. This would add another layer of chaos to an already strained evening. While the inspector went through his checklist, customers started arriving for our 6 p.m. seating. The scene at the host stand was getting tense. Despite Anthony's best efforts to explain the reservation system issue, several parties were getting angry. One man was shouting about driving an hour for his reservation, waving his confirmation email on his phone. Another couple threatened to call the local news about our scam of overbooking and then pretending their reservation didn't exist. Mark was helping manage the chaos at the front when his sister Rachel, 36F, rushed in looking worried. She pulled us aside and showed us messages from their mother. Diana had been busy. She'd called our produce supplier pretending to be me and cancelled our order. She'd hired someone to hack into our reservation system. She'd even paid one of her friend's kids to create fake social media accounts and file health department complaints. But her masterstroke was inviting a notoriously harsh food critic to opening night, warning him about severe food safety issues at the restaurant. She'd somehow gotten his personal contact information through her restaurant owner friend. She was so confident in her sabotage that she'd bragged about it to Rachel, not realizing that Rachel had already warned us about Diana's previous attempts to interfere with the restaurant. I was devastated but determined not to let her win. We pushed through the chaos. My team was amazing. Servers stayed calm despite the reservation mess, the kitchen adapted to ingredient substitutions, and we managed to serve every table. The health inspector actually complimented our setup and organization. The critic Diana invited? He turned out to be our salvation. He'd arrived early and witnessed Diana's friend's son making a scene about finding a bug in his food, at a table that hadn't even been served yet. The critic recognized the obvious sabotage attempt. Instead of writing about the food, he wrote an article about a mother-in-law's attempt to destroy her daughter-in-law's dream. The article went viral. Local news picked it up, then national outlets. Diana's scheme completely backfired. We were suddenly the most talked about restaurant in the city. Our reservation list filled up for months. Other chefs and restaurant owners reached out with support, and many of them knew Diana's restaurant friend who helped her. His reputation took a massive hit. Mark was furious. He confronted his mother the next day. She tried to justify her actions, claiming she was trying to protect him from financial ruin when the restaurant inevitably failed. She even suggested I'd somehow manipulated the situation to generate publicity. Mark told her she was no longer welcome in our lives until she could acknowledge the harm she'd caused and make genuine amends. That was 3 months ago. The restaurant is thriving. We've even had to expand our staff to keep up with demand. Diana has been telling family members that she's heartbroken about being banned from her son's life, but she still insists she was trying to help. She's never once apologized for what she did. The silver lining is that this experience showed me who really supports me. Mark chose me over his mother's manipulation. My team stuck by me through the chaos of opening night. Even my competitors in the restaurant industry rallied around me when they heard what happened. Sometimes it takes someone trying to destroy your dreams to show you how many people actually want to help them succeed. Update 1. The situation with Diana has gotten even more complicated. Remember Diana's restaurant owner friend who helped her with her sabotage scheme? Well, he didn't just help her contact the food critic, he was deeply involved in all of her plans. One of his former employees reached out to me with shocking evidence. She had screenshots of text messages between Diana and her boss discussing their plans. They had been plotting this for months, ever since I declined Diana's offer to buy into the restaurant. The messages revealed that Diana's friend had been the one coordinating everything, from hiring hackers for our reservation system to pressuring our produce supplier to deny our order. Diana had promised him a significant stake in the restaurant once I failed and was forced to sell. Their plan was to make opening night such a disaster that I'd have no choice but to accept their help to save the business. The messages revealed something even more disturbing. Diana had apparently been spreading rumors in the restaurant industry for months before our opening, telling people I had been fired from my previous jobs for stealing and unsafe food practices. She'd even created a fake email account pretending to be my former boss to send warnings to potential suppliers and employees. Several people who had initially accepted jobs at my restaurant suddenly backed out weeks before opening. Now I know why. They'd received these fake warning emails. Diana had been systematically trying to destroy my reputation in the industry long before opening night. When Mark saw the evidence, he was shattered. He'd been holding on to a small hope that his mother's actions were just misguided concern rather than malicious intent. The messages proved she had deliberately tried to destroy not just my restaurant, but my entire career. We took the evidence to a lawyer. They advised us that we had a strong case for defamation and tortious interference with business relationships. The fake emails impersonating my former employer alone could result in serious legal consequences. When we sent a cease and desist letter to Diana and her friend, they panicked. The restaurant owner friend suddenly wanted to make things right. He offered a significant settlement if we'd sign an NDA and not pursue legal action. He was worried about losing his restaurant licenses if the full extent of his involvement became public. Part 3. My mother-in-law sabotaged byresturaunt's opening night and paid people to make me fail, but her plan backfired when a famous food critic exposed her evil plot, and now she's facing criminal charges. Diana's response was different. She sent a long email to the entire family claiming she was being persecuted for trying to protect her son. She actually tried to paint herself as the victim, saying I was using my newfound fame to turn her own family against her. The most shocking part? She admitted to everything but claimed she did it because she had proof I was planning to divorce Mark once the restaurant succeeded. Her evidence? She had gone through our credit card statements. Mark had added her as an authorized user years ago and never removed her, and found charges from a lawyer's office. What she didn't know was that those charges were for trademarking the restaurant's name and logo. Mark finally canceled her access to all our accounts, but the fact that she had been monitoring our finances for years was deeply unsettling. The family is divided. Some relatives think we should accept the settlement offer and try to heal as a family. Others, including Mark's sister Rachel, think Diana needs to face real consequences for her actions. They pointed out that if she's willing to go this far once, she might do it again to someone else. Mark and I decided to proceed with legal action. It's not about money, we're doing well enough with the restaurant. It's about holding Diana and her friend accountable for their actions. Their attempt to destroy my dream could have easily worked, and they might have done the same to other people. The restaurant owner has already lost business. Several of his regular customers stopped coming when the story got out. 2 other restaurant owners came forward saying Diana and her friend had tried similar schemes with them, though not as extensively. Some good has come from this. Other restaurant owners in the area have been incredibly supportive. We formed an informal network to help each other with supplies and staff during emergencies. My team has become like family. They stuck with me through the chaos, and now they're all getting well-deserved promotions as we expand. Mark started therapy to deal with the revelation of his mother's true nature. He's struggling with guilt over not seeing the signs earlier, but I keep reminding him that Diana fooled a lot of people for a long time. The important thing is that he stood by me when it mattered. Update 2. The legal proceedings have started, and even more shocking information has come to light. During discovery, our lawyer found evidence that Diana's sabotage attempts went far beyond what we initially knew. Remember those servers who called in sick on opening night with stomach issues? They hadn't just randomly gotten ill. Diana had paid someone to tamper with their staff meal during the friends and family night. The person she hired turned out to be a line cook at her friend's restaurant, and he confessed everything when confronted with evidence. Thankfully, none of the servers were seriously harmed, but they could have been. When they heard what really happened, they all agreed to testify. They also filed their own police reports for food tampering, which is a serious crime. But the biggest revelation came from Diana's phone records. She had been making regular payments to someone for months before our opening. Our lawyer traced these payments to a former health department employee who had been fired for accepting bribes. This person had given Diana internal health department information and helped file the fake complaints. The district attorney's office is now involved due to the food tampering and the bribery angle. They're talking about criminal charges. Diana's restaurant owner friend quickly turned on her, claiming she had masterminded everything and he was just an unwitting participant. He offered to testify against her in exchange for a lighter sentence. Diana's response to all this? She checked herself into a hospital claiming emotional distress, and is now trying to argue that she was having a mental health crisis during this period. Her lawyer is attempting to use this as a defense against the criminal charges. The family is in chaos. Mark's sister Rachel fully supports us, but some relatives are still defending Diana, saying she needs help rather than punishment. They're pressuring us to drop the charges and let her get treatment instead. What these relatives don't know is that we found evidence this wasn't Diana's first time doing something like this. Her restaurant owner friends' records showed they had successfully forced 3 other new restaurants out of business over the past 5 years using similar tactics. Those owners had either sold their restaurants at a loss or simply closed down, never knowing the real reason for their bad luck. We've contacted these former restaurant owners. 2 of them are now interested in joining our lawsuit. The third person broke down crying when we told them what had happened. They had lost their life savings when their restaurant failed. Mark is devastated by each new revelation. He keeps discovering ways his mother manipulated and hurt people over the years. But he's also angry. He said he won't let Diana use mental health as an excuse for deliberately hurting so many people. Meanwhile, the restaurant is doing better than ever. The publicity from the legal case has actually helped us. People are amazed by how we overcame the sabotage attempts. We've expanded our menu and hired more staff. We're even looking at opening a second location next year. The most satisfying part? Remember that harsh food critic Diana tried to use against us? He's become a regular customer and recently gave us a glowing review based solely on our food. He said our handling of the opening night chaos showed the kind of resilience and professionalism that makes a restaurant truly great. I never wanted any of this drama. I just wanted to cook good food and share my passion with others. But Diana's attempts to destroy my dream have actually made it stronger. We've built an amazing community of supporters, from our loyal customers to other restaurant owners who now have our backs. The legal case continues, and we'll see what happens with the criminal charges. But one thing's certain, Diana's plan to ruin us completely backfired. Instead of destroying my restaurant, she destroyed her own reputation and relationships. Sometimes karma works in unexpected ways.